I need you to listen very carefully. What we're about to go through today is not a guide. It's not a set of tips. This is a warning. We're going to peel back the curtain on the darker, more strategic side of human attraction, and we're going to use the cold, calculating mind of Machiavelli to do it. We're dissecting the psychological game some people play, not in the name of love, but in the name of influence and control. This isn't about romance. It's about recognizing a very specific kind of manipulation before you find yourself caught in its web. So pay close attention, because understanding these tactics is your single best defense.
This quote, this right here, is the master key to everything we're about to unlock. Let's really break it down. What Machiavelli is saying is that the world of attraction, of influence, isn't a level playing field. Most of us, he argues, are walking around looking at the surface. We see a smile, we see success, we see confidence, and we take it at face value. We believe what's being presented to us. But the crafty person, the manipulator, they understand it's a performance. They know that what you see is a carefully constructed illusion designed to get a specific reaction. And because of that, the person who believes what they see is always at a disadvantage. It's a harsh, brutal truth, but we have to stare it right in the face to understand the weapons we're about to expose.
So let's be perfectly clear about where we're headed. We are entering a psychological battlefield. Forget everything you've been told about romance, about spontaneity, raw honesty, and just being yourself. On this field, those things can be liabilities. The strategies we're looking at are ruthless precisely because they don't play by those rules. They are designed to bypass your logical mind and target your deepest, most primal emotions and insecurities. And on this battlefield, make no mistake, the trusting heart is always the first casualty. You have to stay alert.
Okay, let's just tear down some of the biggest myths right now. You've been told it's all about looks, right? Wrong. In this world, it's about strategy. Looks are just one tool in the arsenal. Then there's the big one. Honesty is the best policy. Well, the Machiavellian truth is that uncertainty creates obsession. See, a predictable person becomes boring, but someone who keeps you guessing, who makes you wonder what they're thinking, that's what gets you hooked. It keeps their target's mind constantly occupied with them. And finally, the idea that it's a game of hearts. For a manipulator, it's nothing of the sort. It is amoral theater, a stage play. They are an actor playing a role, and they feel zero obligation to actually be the person they're pretending to be. Understanding this gap between the myth and the reality is absolutely crucial.
So, let's get into the arsenal. Weapon number 1. I call these unpredictable attacks. You can think of it as a kind of psychological guerrilla warfare. This isn't the charming, fun spontaneity of a healthy relationship. No, this is a calculated campaign of chaos designed to keep a target perpetually off balance, confused, and ultimately desperate to figure out what's coming next. It's about creating a state of constant anticipation and anxiety.
And there is cold, hard science behind why this is so terrifyingly effective. It's about deliberately hijacking your brain chemistry. See, when something unexpected happens, a sudden compliment, a surprise message, an abrupt shift in mood, your brain gets a jolt of dopamine. That's the reward chemical. It feels good. It feels exciting. So the manipulator turns their affection into a slot machine. Sometimes you pull the lever and get nothing. Other times you get a small payout, and every once in a while you hit a jackpot of warmth and attention. You never know when the reward is coming, so you just keep pulling that lever, again and again, completely hooked on the possibility. It literally creates a craving, an addiction to the unpredictability itself.
So how is this weapon actually deployed? It's a sequence of psychological ambushes. Step 1. The classic push-pull, the hot and cold treatment. Overwhelming warmth one day, followed by cool, confusing distance the next. This creates instability. Step 2. The surprise attacks. A text message at 2 a.m., a deep compliment out of nowhere. These are designed to keep you on your toes, always thinking about them. Step 3 is a master move, creating false intimacy. They'll spontaneously share a deep secret, making you feel special. And then, just as quickly, they'll pull back into light, playful banter, leaving you craving that depth again. And finally, step 4. They constantly change the environment. No routine dates, no predictable patterns. You can never get comfortable, which means you're always on edge, always a little bit anxious.
But here is the critical warning about this weapon. This strategy doesn't actually breed deep, lasting desire. It breeds emotional chaos. The target doesn't feel cherished. They feel whipsawed. They feel like a toy being played with, not a person being courted. It doesn't build connection. It builds a foundation of anxiety and completely severs the potential for real trust. And for the manipulator, this often backfires spectacularly. They don't end up looking mysterious and exciting. They end up looking unstable, unreliable, and ultimately untrustworthy.
Now we come to the second weapon in the arsenal, and this one is perhaps the most insidious of all. It's called the virtuous mask. This is the art of deception through apparent goodness. The manipulator puts on a performance of being noble, kind, empathetic, and wise. They build this beautiful pedestal of morality for themselves, all to hide the cynical games they are playing right underneath it. It's a Trojan horse for the heart.
The psychology here is dangerously effective because, well, most of us are wired to trust goodness. We want to believe people are decent. The manipulator exploits this by performing acts of kindness, by discussing noble and lofty topics, by appearing merciful and humane. They build this powerful aura of unimpeachable character. And what happens when you encounter someone you believe is truly good? Your defenses drop. Your skepticism vanishes. You stop looking for ulterior motives. You don't see a strategist pulling strings. You see a noble crusader, a wise soul, and you feel honored just to be in their presence. It blinds you to the moves happening right behind that virtuous smokescreen.
So how is this mask built? Piece by piece. It's all about subtle, non-threatening moves. They'll offer you help or profound advice with seemingly no strings attached, positioning themselves as a selfless guide. They'll elevate the conversation away from the superficial, talking about art, philosophy, or their charitable work, making them seem deep and thoughtful. And here's a crucial one. They complement your character, your judgment, your mind, not just your looks. This suggests they see your true self, which is incredibly seductive. And through it all, they maintain a cool, patient, almost detached demeanor, appearing wise and above the fray, making you feel like you have to work to earn their profound respect.
Of course, the problem with any mask is that it's fragile. The performance is exhausting to maintain, and eventually, inevitably, a crack will appear. A selfish act, a moment of unkindness, a flash of their true manipulative personality. And when that mask slips, even for a second, the sense of betrayal for the target is absolutely devastating. They don't just feel disappointed, they feel like a fool. They realize the entire foundation of their trust was built on a lie. Remember, actions always speak louder than words, and a single crack in that virtuous facade shatters the entire illusion, and that trust can never, ever be recovered.
Okay, onto our third weapon. This one is a classic, pulled straight from the worlds of economics and psychological marketing and applied directly to human affection. This is the scarcity trap. It is the dark art of manufacturing value by manufacturing absence. By making their time, their attention, and their affection seem like a limited, precious, and hard-to-get resource, the manipulator makes you desperate to acquire it.
This tactic preys on a powerful and unconscious bias that we all have. We instinctively place a higher value on things that are rare. Think about it. Limited edition sneakers, a sold-out concert, an exclusive club. The fact that they're hard to get makes us want them more. The exact same principle applies to affection. When someone's attention is always available, it's easy to take for granted. But when it's elusive, when it's rationed, our brain automatically recategorizes it. It's no longer just attention, it's a desirable prize to be won. The manipulator isn't being mysterious for the sake of it. They are methodically engineering a supply and demand crisis where they control the supply of their own affection.
So how is this scarcity engineered in practice? It's a disciplined game of restraint. They'll be politely unavailable for things, skipping an occasional outing to show they have their own full life. They'll deliberately let calls or texts go unanswered for a few hours, creating that space of wanting and waiting. They will almost always be the one to end a date or a great conversation first, cutting it off at the peak, which always leaves you wanting more. And they ration intimacy. Personal details, deep praise, moments of vulnerability, these are doled out very, very slowly, making each one feel like a hard-won prize.
But let us be absolutely crystal clear on this point. This is not mystery. It is manufactured insecurity. The target, more often than not,
doesn't feel intrigued in a healthy way. They feel rejected. They feel unimportant. They feel like they're constantly auditioning for a role they might not get. This doesn't breed desire, it breeds deep mistrust and eventually a powerful sense of resentment. It's a cruel game, and it very often backfires when the target simply gets exhausted, gives up, and goes to find someone who actually values their time and makes them feel wanted, not constantly tested.
And that brings us to our final weapon, and in many ways, it's the most sophisticated. It's the most targeted. This is flattery as deception. Now, I'm not talking about simple compliments on a new haircut or a nice outfit. No, this is much, much deeper. This is about seducing a person's brain by directly targeting their ego, their intellect, and their deepest sense of self-worth.
The psychology at play here is just profound. Think about it. A compliment on your looks is nice, but it's temporary and superficial. But a compliment on someone's mind, on their intelligence, their creativity, the unique way of seeing the world, that hits differently. It's deeply validating. It triggers our most fundamental pride and forges an incredibly powerful bond. It makes the target feel seen, understood, and valued in a way that very few people ever have. And here's the kicker. The manipulator becomes associated with that amazing feeling. The target doesn't just like the manipulator, they like who they are when they're with the manipulator. And that is an unbelievably powerful position to hold over someone.
For this to work, it has to feel completely authentic. So the skilled manipulator will show what appears to be genuine, deep interest in your passions. They'll actually read the book you recommend. Then they'll praise how you think, not just your opinion. They'll say things like, "I never would have connected those two ideas. That's brilliant." Then they'll ask smart, thoughtful follow-up questions that let you elaborate and feel like an expert. And then comes the masterstroke, the checkmate move. They'll casually tell you how they were talking to their friends and mentioned one of your impressive ideas. This provides powerful social proof that your intellect is valued not just by them, but by others. It's devastatingly effective.
But like all of these weapons, this one is a razor's edge. Unscrupulous flattery is a tool used to influence, to corrupt, and to deceive. If the praise feels even slightly empty, if it feels undeserved or over the top, it backfires instantly and catastrophically. The target doesn't feel validated, they feel patronized. They feel like they're being handled. And the moment they realize that all that flattery was just a tool to get something, all respect is lost. The manipulator is no longer seen as an admirer, they're seen as a sycophant, a fraud, and that entire illusion shatters into a million pieces.
And so here we are, at the ultimate warning. This brings us full circle right back to that core Machiavellian insight we started with. The naive heart is the first to be fooled by appearances. The person who believes what they see on the surface, the one who takes things at face value, is always the most vulnerable. They're the one who believes the virtuous mask is real. They're the one who thinks that manufactured distance is just charming mystery. They're the one who accepts the intellectual flattery without ever questioning the motive behind it. Being aware of these games isn't about becoming a cynic, not at all. It's about becoming discerning. It's about learning to look past the performance to see the real person and their true intention.
So please, heed this warning. Understand that these tactics are so effective because they prey on our deepest, most universal human instincts, our need to feel desired, our trust in goodness, our attraction to the rare, and our pride in our own minds. Yes, they can bestow a certain kind of influence, but they wound badly. They create anxiety and insecurity, and they destroy trust. You have to see that the line between genuine courtship and cold manipulation can be dangerously, terrifyingly thin. And stepping over that line, whether you are the perpetrator or the victim, will almost always leave both hearts wounded. The goal today wasn't to teach you how to play these games. It was to arm you against them. Because in this battlefield, being forewarned truly is being forearmed. Which leaves us with one final, sobering question to ask yourself. In this complex, high-stakes game of love and power, are you the player or are you the prize? Think about it. Thanks for joining me.